Morning, everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about a lot of the new things that have come out and changed in the last couple weeks from the lens of Midnight Suns. I'd strap in. It's probably going to be a decently long video. I've actually made probably 3 videos, maybe almost over an hour's worth of me talking about some of this stuff that just never got released because, for one reason or another, I just didn't feel it was good content. Maybe a little too, I don't know, whatever. But we're going to talk about it. So, I think the main topics would be the Thanos Thor 2, Hellfire Nerf, Elsa Man Thing coming out, and the Crisis changes. I think those are the 3 big things that have happened for us in the last couple weeks. I think the easy one to start with, I can't even remember what I've released because I know I've talked about everything here. Is Elsa and Man Thing. I know it's a big talking point in the Midnight Suns chat. Uh, I think the Elsa win rate currently, even though it's only like 100 some games, is not that great. A lot of people are experimenting with her. I think somebody else made a valid comment of like, people are trying to play Elsa in Blade lists, and it's just not the same. Like, I'll tell you right now, I have very little interest in playing Elsa. Like, I don't imagine I play a game with her in the next months. Um, she's just not on my radar. Maybe if somebody comes up with something really cool and she starts doing well, I'll be a little more interested. But I just like Bump too much. I think it's too much a part of my plan and why I like Midnight Suns. Um, if she had like a different profile, right? She's like bad against the same stuff. Okay, she's a little bit longer range. She's a 4 threat. She's like the same thing as Blade. Like she's not that much different than Blade. Just with a leadership I'm less interested in. It does have some cool uses, but I'm just less interested in it. And I think Bump, like for all the AOE damage or no damage reduction, Root's pretty cool that she can do. I feel like if you just use Bump well, you get so many more attacks that it like kind of makes up for it in its own way. Anyway, she's probably fine. I hope somebody does something to unlock her and whatnot. She's just not on my radar, especially because my next tournament is in 11 weeks. Is squad goals, the team event. This is probably the big one for me, Curtis, and Johnny to try to win it this year. But that being said, I am interested in the Man Thing. I've played a couple games with him. I've enjoyed him so far. I think I don't know. I guess he doesn't read badly, right? Like he's a 3 threat with 3-3-4. Okay, slightly above average. 6 health, slightly above average. He's size 3, which has its uses and downsides. Probably more uses. Like being thrown into your team is never amazing, but I mean the fact that like Sam can't push him. There's a lot of size 2 throwers out there. Size 3 is that nice size where like a lot of people can't mess with you, and you're not as big as like the size 4 people for messing up your stuff. So that's at least something. I mean, it's a 5 dice range 3. Like that's fine for a 3. He has a trigger that he can pull people towards him. He's a decent spender. I mean, 7 dice Mystic range 3 is fine. Gives incinerate and poison. I don't know how much you're actually using the spender on him. I guess it depends how much power you have and how much you can teleport, right? Because he only has 2 things to spend power on: the spender and then his teleport. Teleport's the same as Lockjaw, except it doesn't cost an action, which is a big deal, and I'll kind of talk about that later. He has the no hex, the no crit thing, healing vector 2, immunity, hex and stun, which is actually kind of interesting and relevant. And then anyone who damages him within 2, or he damages somebody within 2, they get incinerate. So again, I think there's a lot of things on this card that make him just like a solid. He's good at picking up extracts because if people have to attack him, they give him power to do the teleport thing. He has healing factor, which is really good. It's harder for him to be spiked because the no crits, right? Similar to the Black Cat stuff. I don't know. He seems like a cool 3. I want to play him more. I think he can be really annoying against teams that aren't like super long range um, because they're going to get incinerated if they start attacking him. Like for example, let's say you safe grab or you raw grab in front of Namor, for example. Like you got priority. He's standing across from Man Thing, and you're just like, I'm just gonna grab the thing. And let's say he's not timed for this particular thing. He only gets to walk up and attack you once. All right, you have no armor, so it doesn't matter. He gets no Chris, so he can max do 6. He's probably not doing 6, so the one shot potential is very low. And then he gets himself incinerated, and then if you have priority, you get to go first and potentially teleport yourself away and healing in factor 2. And I've done a couple. I think he's pretty cool in Infinity because he gets more power. But I've done some plays where like he gets dazed and then he wakes up and teleports 3 people because there's no actions, and then he gets to play siege, and then I guess he had to teleport. Yeah, he teleported 3 people, including himself, and then attacked, got power, siege. Everybody who I teleported was the Suns, so they all got the siege. So like that's kind of a cool play that Lockjaw could do, but Lockjaw doesn't get to actually siege himself. So, and it costs action. So let's just say there's situations where Man Thing's loaded on power that you could teleport, attack, siege for like 3 more attacks, right? Whereas the Lockjaw version of it would be like, I teleport 2 people, I put, +1 dice on somebody, and then I siege. So you're basically missing out on the whole like activation of Lockjaw himself. Anyway, he's a cool 3. He's affiliated, which is great. Lockjaw's not on the list right now. I'll talk a little bit more. Man Thing kind of replaced part of Lockjaw with the whole late game teleport, which I ended up, after playing a lot of Lockjaw, I realized I really valued that part of him, like the late game teleports. Like Bump is already so good early that I wasn't like taking advantage of teleporting up with Lockjaw early. Lockjaw was basically either a safe grab 3, which is great, or like he'd safe grab and then he'd start teleporting later on. And I really like the teleport aspect of it, and so that's why I'm excited for Man Thing. Again, he's affiliated. He can move people, and he gives people incinerate. He's pretty solid. Don't care about his card. I'm sure it's good. It's hard to fit cards in Suns, and he is not up there. So as you can see, I have 16 models in this roster. So basically everyone up until Zemo or before Werewolf, I think is definitely in my roster. Obviously, my roster's not locked yet. I did go 5-1 in Central using mainly Suns. I don't know if I had a convocation game or not. And then I'm 4-0 in Lunch Meet, and I'm going to play the finals next week against Curtis, but that's with my Convocation Suns duel, which I wish was just Suns at this point. I did use the Convocation part last game, so it's not like it's unuseful, but I'm just more pressed to play Suns right now than Convocation. I'll have to do another video on them another time. The point being is I don't have some of these options in that list, so it's like just waiting for the new Crisis and new stuff. One more final game, I guess, with that. But Zima will come in. He's a safe grab. I think Boots long ago suggested something like this to me. And I think after playing Lockjaw and enjoying the safe grab of a 3 and enjoying the teleport, but also being like, he's kind of like, he's not that fast without using he's fast, but he's not like fighting people back. Like as much as, I don't know. There's something about, we all know Zemo, Premier 3, he fights, he has strategic genius, he, does all this shit that's annoying. And the fact that he can safe grab in Suns with a card, you still have to play the card, but I think there are a lot of situations it's definitely worth it. I also think that, so like, I'll give you an example. A 17 Infinity is really what kind of made me think of this, because I started hating on the Frank Voodoo team that I was talking about with Red Skull 2. I was like, this sucks. I played it. I watched bots play it. We talked about it. I was like, it just didn't feel strong when you put it on the table. And so I think you can do things like iHawk, Blade, Zemo, either Man Thing or Mummy. And I actually think Man Thing is pretty good on Infinity. Mummy is too, to be fair. But like you can run something like that where like Blade, iHawk, Baron, Zemo, and then one of the 2-3s and say, okay, I'm probably going to be either as tall or less tall. I think 4 people on Infinity is fine. depending on the crisis, of course, this is the big part is, you have a Zemo safe grab. You can put iHawk across from the other one and say, all right, I have priority. This is like you have priority type thing. You safe grab a Zemo, get back to an Infinity. Now, okay, you've spent the card, but you're back on your point, ready for turn 2. You're going to have power to charge, which is great. That's a big reason Infinity is one of the best places to do this for Zemo. He can rotate left to right. Infinity also. And then you just threaten the other point. Let's say it's like Virus or something. You threaten the one in front of iHawk, and you're saying, all right, I'm going to safe grab one. What are you going to do? Or you maybe even set up in a way that you can safe grab the middle one, or grab the middle one, just raw grab it. I don't know, can Zemo safe grab 2 things at once, like Lockjaw? I forget. If that's the case, then maybe it's good to set Zemo up in the middle. The point being is that you basically get a safe grab on a model that is very strong and fast and gets back on a point, and then iHawk can threaten the other one and say, if you take this, you're going to get double tapped by iHawk, and if not, I'm just going to grab it myself. And try to get an extract advantage, and then you can like rotate where you need to go. And also a ban thing on that kind of situation is really good, because if if you're kind of passive early with them, you're going to get enough power at least turn 2 to teleport. And on Infinity, if you can teleport like Immortal Hulk 3 like towards the other side, like he can bump one blow all or leap, and get all the way across and have 2 attacks while being on the other side. So the point being is, Zemo's a great model. A safe grab for a card isn't bad. It's just more useful than Lockjaw in a lot of places after the fact. After you safe grab, he's more useful. Lockjaw has a cool like teleporting thing that I like, and he has more power than Man-Thing, but being affiliated, Man-Thing can kind of do the same thing. I think in other rosters, like I think it's one of those things that I like. I like the 2 Lockjaw abilities, the safe grab potential and the teleport. And I almost like don't mind that they're separated onto maybe better chassis in their own way, or more useful chassis. He might come back. I haven't looked at all. I mean, I haven't thought about all the shapes enough to be like, oh my gosh, he can't. Also, like moving back long after a safe grab has like some uses too. Anyway, that's not an anti-dog thing. It's more of a, I think Zemo's fine. Also, I want to comment. Zemo is also like one of those ones where you can set up the safe grab and you don't have to do it, and you still feel like he's useful. I feel like with Lockjaw, you can set it up if you have enough pieces, but like Zemo can straight up just be like, if they raw, I'll give you another example. Without priority, you can set up iHawk and Zemo into like safe grab positions, and at least if they grab the one in front of Zemo, you can go attack them. Like the card, I am a bear after all, is still good, period. And in fact, in Suns, if it's like a D extract, you can walk, bump, attack them, and you don't even have to spend the card as a charge, as a pseudo charge turn 1. You can just walk, charge them, and have the card for later, and it's a very good card on him. So, like, you're not wasting anything. It's not like taking Eyes on the Prize and then somebody taking the one across some bill. It's like, oh, I'll just save the great card for later. But I have the option to safe grab. And if I don't safe grab, I have a good card. So, or I want to walk, charge somebody on the back point or something. Stuff like that. It also gives you a little bit more flexible range with, like, if somebody stands on their back D, you could play this card to walk, charge towards their back D, and you make it if you're like perfectly like lined up to it, but it gives you a little room for error where if you're not perfectly lined up, you can probably still attack the person, and if you do 1 damage, you can then bump on the back D. So stuff like that. I mean, he's a good model. He's a good model, and to be fair, he does get some value from bump turn 1, because getting on the midline gives him an attack. I mean, we knew that with Cat, but like you're paying bump to like get a 4 dice attack versus like a Zemo attack. I guess she has Pierce. Whatever. The point being is it's fine. I like him. And then so everybody after that is like potential. So I think these 7, I'm like, I don't want to say locked in on, but like I'm like, oh yeah, hell yeah, this is definitely in my roster. I have purposes for everybody. I think you need 2 affiliated 3s. I think they both have their uses. I mean, Voodoo, iHawk, Red Skull, Blade. I mean, you've heard me talk about them enough. I play them so much that they're just there. All right. In fact, let's just go over. I'm not gonna go into Werewolf is affiliated 5. A-Bomb has a lot of good synergies with Bump, but kind of gets in the way of Red Skull. Wong, I still think has uses even in Red Skull rosters. I think there are some rosters where like 18 with Red Skull and Wong, and iHawk and Blade that can work. And I've played Shang and Bill are just Shang's just a really good 4 that could be just thrown into any Midnight Suns list. Bill is a safe grab. Wrecking Crew is a safe grab. Wrecking Crew is definitely more fragile than Bill. Bill's like super tanky, but Wrecking Crew has some cool things you can do with Bump, and they're very fast around the board. And then I think that there's room for a 6 threat splash, so you can go 17. So you can go 3 wide 17. I don't know how much in the meta it's needed, but as options, I think all 3 of these are pretty good. Emily Mall, I think, has a lot more synergy. Okay, so Hulkbuster's big base Bump, just a cool ass dude. I mean, he's probably not as good as the others, but he's just so cool that like I gotta put him in here. There's a chance I play him one day. Thor, super nerf, pretty good nerfed. I mean, he's still a strong model. We're not gonna go too deep into like his nerfs. I'm not gonna talk. Thanos got nerfed, so that's like a huge tactical thing that like we don't have to worry about anymore. I don't think he's going to be very popular. He can't capture as well as he used to, at least down outside of Black Order. And so I just think that these shells, and it probably helps us in general because like we could compete with like the Thanos shells because we had our own really tall versions of things with like iHawk and stuff. And now that Thanos, in my opinion, has gotten a lot worse splashed, like our wider stuff or our taller stuff, I think is even better because less control. To mess with us, but also just now we have some of the tallest things if we need to. I mean, I think there are some 3 wides with like Red Skull and stuff, but like I think in that 4 range is having like one really strong model for like priority purposes, and then like little guys who do good stuff is good. I don't know if I need a 6, but if I need a 6, it's probably one of those 3. Also, I'm coming at this from the lens of squad goals. It's a single character pool and single crisis pool. Crisis pool isn't that big a deal. And I'm probably not going to get Shang and Bill. They're also not pivotal enough to my plan that I would take them from somebody. They're so strong that it's like you don't want somebody who's like it's going to be your fringe model like on a specific 18 that you use Shang, right? So that's why I'm not. Ebony Maul is like a funny one of the 6s. So okay, sorry, I was talking about Thor. I know I'm all over the place. It's early and I'm trying to race my son waking up. He got nerfed heavily. I've only played against new Thor once. I only played against old Thor a couple times, but I think you can really feel the threat range difference. Obviously, turn 1, his pressure is way off. You can't, from a shell purpose, having Wong is not enough to get him the pounce turn 1. He also can't walk and attack the midline without help. So like what could have been before is walk, make a range 3, 7 dice attack, get 1 power, pounce into the enemy, is now you can't hit people. He doesn't have the power for pounce. You even have 1 less die that even if you could get in range of somebody, you'd have to earn 2 power for it. So his turn 1 is really hampered. If he's loaded up on power in the middle of an enemy team, okay, he has 1 less attack die, which does matter for lightning arc and stuff. But the range 2, I really feel. I felt it when I played against him that like, oh, I body block his, like I put my grunts in front of him so he couldn't pounce towards me, and I'm standing like right behind my grunts, a little bit further back, but like within range 3 to shoot him, and I'm like, oh, he can't get me. Like he can't do anything. He cannot throw at me. He can't pounce at me. He has to walk, pounce, and then attack, or walk, attack. And it just felt like he made way less attacks. And obviously having 6 dice versus 7 it adds up. I mean, listen, this attack is obviously very good. Way less likely to hit the triggers without the extra die. It does matter. But like Mummy, like Thor's a scary dude, but he's not what he was before. But in Suns is one of the ones where he's a little bit better. If you look at the shells he was in, like Steve 1, he was in a lot of shells. I forget all of them. There's a lot of shells. Like at least Bump gets him to the midline turn 1 and to attack somebody. He might not get to pounce at them. He might only get 2 power, and He might get 2 power, so he can't pounce, but he can throw something. But at the very least, like he can do stuff. Man, his attack doesn't get around martial artists either anymore. That sucks. You have to like ping people to death. I don't know. He's not like if I take a 6, he might be there. He's there, but I don't know. I think Ebony Maw is really cool. I did want to point out just the thing that he's a safe grab. Obviously, all the 6s here are safe grabs. Probably the coolest thing about Maw is that in a power neutral world. Okay, that's not a way to put it. So sometimes you gotta look at what a model can do, in general, like without any influence, right? So in a world where Maul is not getting attacked, he basically earns 4 power to start with the gem, and then that's it. And then he attacks twice. Not turn 1, he won't. But let's just say he can attack twice after turn 1. So turn 1, you would like do his normal bullshit, which you don't need. You don't need bump for. You would walk, space gem yourself up, attack, throw. That's all you have power for because you're missing 1 power. But now, let's just say you're in the middle of the game. You're on a secure. Assuming you can space gem or bump to somebody, you can bump / space gem, double tap, get 2 power auto, 2 6 dice range 4, throw something if you want, and then have power to bump backwards. So like you can bump off, you could teleport off a secure, or space gem off a secure, double tap, throw something, bump back to the secure. And that's 6 power exactly, and you have 4 power to start, and you gain 2 power from your Black Tongue. So it also gives them a little bit of flexibility to like bump, place 2 and space gem and bump himself to like get to other points, like on Scoundrels potentially. Shush is like a super good card, like ridiculously good, like to the point that I'm like I should probably play more Maw on my list. He probably isn't even bad at 20 with like a Mummy, whereas like maybe these 2, Immortal Hulk and Blade, like it's probably okay. While Hulk goes in and does his thing, Maul is usually more of a behind the scenes. Also, if he does end up gaining extra power, so there's 2 things I guess I would say is one, with bump, to kind of fill those ranges, like you might not need to space gem himself, in which case you can space gem like iHulk somewhere, as well as he's a safe grab. He can safe grab enemy scrolls with space gem and bump. So he's actually pretty funny because he can walk, bump, space gem, grab the enemy scroll, and get a move back. So he can do that move too, that I think people don't realize he's good at doing it. I mean, Hulkbuster can do it too. Anyway, Shush is just a very good card as well. So like, he's immune to collision. He has the collision thing. So like, as long as you have some power on him, which I know, everything I just said was like he's power neutral. So like he'd be on 0 afterwards. So you got to be a little wary of that for spending his card and whatnot. I mean, you don't need to space gem every time. You're not going to be able to throw every turn all the time either. He can also like be immune to people throwing iHulk into him, so he can be like a nice backstop as well, where like you're not worried about being thrown into. So yeah, he's actually like a really cool potential with his movement shit and whatnot. Anyway, I don't want to go down this road. I'm basically testing from here out. Shang-Chi and Beta Ray Bill probably will not make it, just from a squad goals perspective. It would only be one of the 6s, and Werewolf is a really big... I feel like Wong's going to end up being in there. I have to think. We're going to go through that whole exercise of like threat levels and stuff, but it's going to come down to talking about new secures a bit and seeing which ones we like and what threats we need to worry about. And, do we need Wong? Do I think that 18 is strong enough? Do I think, do I want a 17 with Maw in it? Again, I don't know these answers. Do I need some really wide... I mean, there's other 4s that could be used. I mean, this is not everybody. Like, if these 2 are taken from me, do I... the whole idea of Shang-Chi and Bill or Wrecking Crew was to have this, like, 19 that could go really wide with... But then you might well just take fucking... Like, at that point, like, for all the teams that take like Wrecking Crew and Beta Ray, like 2/4s, you might as well just take like Red Skull and Zemo, right? If they're going to be unaffiliated, like I feel like Red Skull Zemo is almost as strong, if not stronger, than any sort of double 4 setup you can do. I guess it was much different because my list never had Zemo for a while. Okay, so maybe that could change the whole thing. Maybe Werewolf comes back in and then a 6 and then Wong or something. I'll think about that later. So yeah, the Hellfire nerfs, the Thor nerf is really good for us. Obviously, Asgard can still be a problem, but the range of Thor, the threat range of Thor, is definitely like hampered a bit. Still a solid mono. I don't think people should just give up on him completely, but he's not as like busted. I win all the games. I think the Asgard win rate has significantly dropped in the last week. It's only like 50 games, but it's funny. I don't feel bad for Thor players. Thanos players I don't feel bad for either. So sorry guys. It was time. It was a long time coming. Hellfire as well. Again, like all these things. Like I think it was a funny statistic I looked up the other day, and it's probably even, I guess, different now. I have roughly 50 games on TTS on Longshanks in the last, I don't know, I think since September or something, or sometime where like, I don't know. So at some point, I have 50 games, at least. But I have roughly 9 losses in those last 50 games, and like 6 of them are to Thanos, Thor 2, or Hellfire. And what I'm basically saying is, and they're a big part of the meta, so it's not like it's like shocking, and like they were pretty good players. Like I played Hellfire and Curtis and Johnny and stuff, and I played some not so good players using them. Well, not bad players, but just average players. But it's just funny that like a lot of the things that have beat me have been like those things that got nerfed. So I do think that we're thinking about everything together. Obviously, with the crisis changes, it changes even more. So it's hard to even infer like, oh yeah, the best stuff got nerfed. I could get better. But I use this example in multiple videos that never got released. Would be, let's just say that Thanos, Thor 2 held down Convocation, right? And Convocation players were like, just with that Cabal shit and Thanos and Thor 2 in the meta so heavily, I can't play as much Convocation. We're not as good. That helps defenders because I think defenders are not as good versus Convocation. Nobility will tell you that to the high heavens. He hates playing Convocation against them. And so I wonder how the meta shifts, like as the crisis changes take away E's and 15s, which I haven't even talked about yet. Jesus, I got to think about that. As they take away that, rosters are going to change. Slots are going to open up. People are not going to have to plan for 15Es, so we're going to be able to plan for other things. I think that top-end stuff did hold some affiliations back a bit. I mean, you could always play them. Like, nothing stopped you. But, maybe it held some of these mid-range stuff back enough that, like, especially, like, Thanos and stuff, who was, like, so... I don't know, just the way he played with the kidnapping stuff, like, was he dictated a lot of stuff, and it's not the same strength. Like, when people talk about Shang-Chi to me and being strong, I get it, he's annoying, he's probably the best 4 in the game, but he doesn't warp. Like, people don't take their affiliation because Shang-Chi exists. People just splash him a lot. Like, I think Thanos greatly made things, like, not unplayable, but like very hard to play. Like, for example, the whole like X-Force had this big resurgence when they got their buffs, and then people realized, the Cabal Thanos thing was like, oh, I'm going to cat and mouse up, and then I'm going to walk Space Gem, Mind Gem you back, maybe even teleport you. I don't know what their whole combo was, and Cosmic Portal. And now Cable only gets to walk once and body slide, and he's like back at his deployment line. And he can't really move at all because you only get one move with cat and mouse. So, like, that kind of stuff being gone, like, maybe X-Force comes back a bit because of the whole Thanos stuff. So I think there's some turn in whole 15. Maybe they didn't love being on 15. Like, they were fighty, but they weren't fighty enough to be on 15. E's against, like, the Cabals and stuff. And now they start making research. And then you say, well, that's a lot. X-Force sucks to play against. X Force is one of my least favorite teams to play against. I feel like they could easily just die, but like they kind of have that like I'm gonna roll dice, and if it goes well, I win type thing. I played them for a little bit, and I didn't really love that. Like I love it in theory, but I felt it was less fun to play. Anyway, that's not a point. Point being is things like it's like cyclical, right? Like things come back, and then maybe things look a little worse. Maybe Convocation and whatever make a comeback because of something, and then defenders look a little worse because there's more Convocation in the world. I don't know. Where was I going with that? The nerfs? I don't even know where I was going with that. Where are we? So we've talked about just about good things being nerfed. So I'm happy about that. So Hellfire got affiliation list. They're going to be whatever. I think we're probably on the Crisis now. So these are the new Crisis that are actually legal. There's two others. There's a Scrolls clone that didn't push you that's not here, and it was also 20, whatever. And then there's a pay-to-flip D-shape that is gone. It's not in here. They also got rid of a bunch. So, man, Vince's video went over this, and I forgot which ones they were. Okay, on the extract side, it's just Researcher, which is good. We knew that was coming because it got restricted. And then Paranoia, which is probably good as well. It was very fast. Like, so I'm not gonna go into like super details about like who was super good on it and what it did. It's just you didn't see it very often. The teams you saw it with were really good. It was super fast scoring. I mean, there's still very fast scoring stuff, if not more of it. But no one's sad to see it go. On the other side, Sword is gone. All the 15s are gone, so Sword and Gamma. The E's are gone. Demons, I mean, Montesi's still there. But the E Secure is gone. And Spider Portals. 6 total, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it all makes sense. Spider Portals was the most annoying pay to flip, punishing for the... I think pay to flips on D's can be difficult, but also with the place mechanic was really bad. The teams that were good at it were just really good at it. Sword, it was a win more button. Like the threat value sucked. The shape was really fun. 50-50s, but auto when no one's there. Like people like it and hate it. And then the push mechanic was just like really too much because like you win the secure and then you throw somebody off a secure. You take it, you go up 3-1, you get to push that model, they're out of the game. Now you keep winning scores because you don't have enough models close by. So, not surprised there. I guess people will say I'm surprised. They're surprised Extremis is here. They did keep 2D shapes in Extremis and Cosmic Portals. I get it. I get why we're surprised it's here. Even I would like to be like, oh, it'd be kind of cool if Extremis was like 1 heal per turn or something, or they only had 1D shape. But I will say that like the best Extremis team got very nerfed, like Hellfire, like got nerfed. So like they were a big problem on Extremis. Like, I mean, I know webs are really good on it too, but like I don't know. I don't have this whole like. I am anti-webs because I hate webs for whatever reason, but like I beat webs a lot. So it's not like I have this like I can't get through them. I do think D-shapes are I think playing on a D-shape against like scenario teams is annoyingly possible. And I think that actually people being worse at the game on D's is probably a more realistic answer to why it's such a problem versus like the scenario teams are just so OP on D's. That is probably the best way to put it. That they are good on it. I wouldn't take them myself all the time, even though I take some D's in my rosters. But like I don't know. We'll get there. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. But they kept it. And so here's the new ones. Let's just go real quick through them. So this is again. It's an 18. I don't. The whole asset versus civilian thing. I know it matters for like this stupid sin stuff people are doing or inhuman civilian stuff. I don't care enough in the beginning. Here we got a Montesi that's on an E shape. It has 4. It's a Montesi beam. There's 4 of them. It's 18 threat, same as Montesi, but it's across the middle and it's grouped on the sides. I'm kind of curious, like how people will play this. Whether it's like, will people grab 2 on the same side? I mean, obviously it matters on priority and stuff, but like if they grab this one, are you gonna just grab the one next to them? I think it gets kind of interesting in something like Suns where they can take one and you can put your like grabber next to it, and you can either safe grab the one away from them, or you can just like walk, bump, attack them, and then pick up the one next to them. I don't know. There's stuff you can do on both sides. I'm curious how this one plays out. I'm not going to play it myself, but at least not right away. But it's kind of interesting if people like go for the same side. I mean, it depends on the secure. Like you could safe grab one of them. You could put both safe grabs on. I guess in an interesting way. One thing I guess this does is a lot of safe grabbers can't get like both viruses. Like Namor can only pick up one safe grab, right? He can only hit one, but in this case, he could hit 2 of them. I'm pretty sure he can get to both of these. So you can never. If you don't have priority, you can put your safe grabber on one side and basically guarantee that you're going to get one of the 2 at least. That's pretty cool, at least. That's okay. There we go. There's something. New F shape. I don't know why they have so many 17 F shapes. I really don't get why they. I don't know. I won't bitch about it. It's whatever. At least this one is like weirdly. It's the scroll roll to get poison, and you're always slow of speed. So it's not the same as slow. Slow will affect things like triggers off attacks. Your speed is slow in this. So like anything that uses your speed, you're slow. Anything that just like advances you, you're fine. So for example, Zemo Spender, you still get to move medium. I mean, this one, I don't know if like as much as like a Webs team could take like all the Fs, I don't, and be all in 17. So be prepared for 17s, I guess. I don't think it's 17. Disclaimer: there's a lot of 17s in the Crisis Pool. I think it's like 10 of 24 or something. The game is clearly wants to be played towards 17. I guess maybe that was a design thing even early. I like a little bit higher points personally, but a lot of the 17s. Like, there was a good bit of 17s today, and you could go heavy 17s if you wanted on extracts. So just because half the extracts are 17, but my prediction is that on average, 17 won't make up that many percent of the extracts people take, is probably the better way to put it. People are still going to take a lot of hammers, a lot of scrolls, a lot of virus, who were the popular ones before. That didn't change. And so I think you can skew more towards 17 if you want, but I don't think like it's not like all the mid-range fighty teams are going to all of a sudden pick up all the 17 cube spiders and Terrigen canisters and start playing it. It's a cool one. I think, I'm interested because like, if you safe grab the middle one with Namor, you're now potentially poisoned and you're slow. So, like, the people who could raw grab the middle one and safely, like, if you had priority and you had Namor and you grab the middle one, like, you're severely hampering him for the rest of the game as he has it. And so, I think that becomes interesting when it comes to, the 3-5 threat safe grabbers. Just any, like, really fast people. If somebody dives your back point, and wants to like run away, if they have some weird setup, they might not be able to as well. Like what's his name? Quicksilver, right? Like if he got to your back point, he got fed enough power that he could double walk, use his advanced thing, get to your back F. He can only go backwards, small. So it's a big deal. I'm curious how this one plays out, like, in the rotation game. Like, even Webs, like, they have a lot of natural movement, but, man, if you get poisoned early on. I'm not even. It's not even just the middle one that bothers me. It's like your own back ones. Like you get poisoned on some like random shitter in the back that picks up. Like I mean, I guess you can walk, pick it up, drop the poison, so it's not that bad. Um, I don't know. I'm just thinking of worlds where like it's kind of annoying to be slow from the back, like people who would like come off the back points and stuff like that to do stuff, like a Zemo, right? Zemo is usually not. He's like an okay extra holder, not always the best, but like now that you're becoming slow early, could really big deal. I'm curious how it plays out. A lot of that. That's gonna be a lot of my answers. Is like I'm curious what happens. The royal wedding. This is 4. The big thing is like after, if you're not within 2 of secure, you get pushed back towards a secure of your opponent's choosing. So it kind of forces you to be near the secures. It's very easy to block this with terrain. Like if you really wanted to run away, you could. I also think there's some funny things you can do in this one where, depending on the secure setup, you can throw somebody like in the middle, like in a D, you could throw somebody in the middle of the board and like have the option to push them in any direction afterwards, potentially with priority to kill them. Probably the thing that is most interesting about this, just if looking at it, and I guess this was a thing before that I wasn't around for, was it's a 4. There's no midline extract, and it's even. So you could dive the back ones and start to create a game, or you could, you could each take your 2, and now you kind of have to play the game from there. Like there's no turn. It's like slower in a way that you're each going to get 2 without much agency unless you want to dive stuff, and then like the game kind of just starts turn 2 in a way like you set up turn 1 depending on the secure. So okay, I'm not going to play it probably. It's 17. Of course it's 17. This one, scientific samples. I don't. I feel like I have less like strong opinions. I did watch a couple. I've read and watched a couple things on these, and I don't know. I think there's always hot takes, and maybe that's because of the way videos are, and way people like we like to go out and be like, "Oh my god, this is like going to be great or horrible for something." And I have no problem with those takes. It's not that. It's more that I don't. I don't know. I kind of like just want to wait and see it. Like I could see where there could be problems, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's a different view of things. It's a D shape, like hammers. They're not stackable. There's no stackable new ones. You pick it up. You get a power once per turn if you roll skull, which is kind of cool for people with like gainers and stuff, or even if you're getting attacked, like just a chance to get more power on your extract people. If you're within 2 of a secure, if all your people with a asset or an extractor within 2 of secure, you get an extra VP. Now, one thing to note is, one, yes, it makes safe grabbers better because potentially, depending if it's not like a D shape, if they're out on the sides, they might not be near secure. Also, like it is within 2, I'm pretty sure that other than, I have to measure it on TTS, but I'm pretty sure that like most medium bases like can like get like scoundrels, like the shape I'm thinking of. Like most medium bases can grab this and be within 2 of the secure. Now you won't be on the secure, but you'll be within 2 of it. So it's not like not having a safe grab makes it impossible to get the point early. But I do think it makes it like if you are on Infinity, a medium base, medium move, terrain dependent can grab the back one and get to an Infinity. But, well, I guess you could always get close enough. Like, even then, if you're not on it, you can always get within 2. Like, just make sure you're within 2 of it. But I think it also gives some agency to the enemy to be like, okay, if an extract holder is activated and I throw them off, I have effectively made you -1 point. As opposed to, like, and there's, like, not much you can do without some sort of friendly movement. For example, you could do that in Paranoia, but there was a lot more ways to fix it, right? Either they had 2 Paranoias and you had to get rid of everybody next to a friendly, or they just walk somebody next to them, right? Whereas here, if you were to like displace somebody off of an objective, like they either got to get them back or there's nothing they can do. It's a little easier to stop in the Paranoia +1. It also means if you, depending on what your enemy does, right? they could grab three and you could grab one, and if they can't get back to the points, you're only down 3-2 instead of 3-1 at that point. So I do think this one's actually pretty good for Suns, and I will be trying it as per a conversation with bots. Uh, yeah, without playing a lot of these, I don't have like the most opinions in the world. I haven't played any new ones yet. I need to start getting games. Wedding Party, Fisk but wider, losing power, high threat. I think this one's gonna be cool. It seems like I think Fisk's shape actually. I think Fisk playstyle. A lot of people actually kind of enjoy it, like the whole 2.1s that move. They're in the center. It's like I think people. The thing is, Fisk is just so punishing. One, it's a low threat value, so some teams are just really good at it. But stun and damage is just like oppressively good against some models and a lot of teams. And so Fisk tended to be teams that were really good at Fisk. And so a lot of people like avoided it. Whereas Wedding Party, sure, losing power is never fun, but it's a little more neutral than like getting stunned and taking damage. Like it's so much like not as big of a deal. It is wider apart, so we'll see how that plays out. This is new sword, whatever you want to call it. Same effect, same pay to flip mechanic. You get +1 power if you have an extract near the points. Okay, something to keep the extract holders like in the game. And then it's 19 threat. So you're still going to get pissed off about, 50-50 pay to flips. This thing's going to fix it. Being more threat and not having the more win button of the push is probably more fun. I actually think people will play this one a lot because I think sword was something people loved / hated to play / it's engaging, but the threat was not that good. So I think people will play this. This is the one. This is the pay to flip that's the same vertical distance as Infinity, but closer in. So it's even more closer in than the F shape. It's right inside of the F shape, without the middle. It's a 3 dice pay to flip. So, and you get an extra reroll if you have extracts. So that's something to keep the extract holders in the game, which I think is good. It's probably the best pay to flip out there now as far as like design. 3 straight dice. I know there's no advantage based on your stat. Just roll it. It's tighter, so like you're not as screwed going left to right as maybe like a Madman is, where like medium movers. As long as you're not like I think completely on the outside, you can get between the two of them. And some people with bump and stuff can actually get in between them without with only one move action. So again, not something I'm gonna reach for, but I think as far as the pay to flip world, we went from Spider Portal Sword, which was like annoyingly 15 in the win more, and then the Spider Portal just being the worst pay to flip D shape place 2 to 2 more that are like way more manageable. I mean, sure. Again, I feel like I don't know. There are teams that are good at pay to flips, and I don't know. I don't know what this like. I feel like it's the hot take thing again, right? This idea that like you can't win something or things are too good. I don't know. I beat the shit out of most people anyway, so maybe it's just I don't think you can have that attitude all the time if you want to like go and be the best or whatever. But yes, some teams are gonna be good at this, but I think it's a lot more fair of a pay to flip in general. Deadline Destruction. This will probably be the most interesting, like, fighty one where you can blow up people. I want to see how this one plays out. It's a really close D shape, and you can start hurting extract holders. All right, my son clock he's out. He's up. I gotta go. I'm gonna play Deadline. I'll talk to you more later. Thanks. Bye.